Welcome back to Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. We're back. So are the Mets. 5 in a row for the orange and blue. We went from depression to succession. Ooh, I like that. That's
what?
that's
Not a thing.
That might be the hottest bar I've ever
But that's not a
written.
thing. What are you succeeding?
Depression to succession.
Yeah. What are you trying to
How
get
about
out of the
this? We went
union?
from depressed to success.
Thank
That kind
you.
of works.
That's better.
Depressed to success, and we're feeling blessed. We're hyped
You haven't
up.
taken your medication, have you?
Wow, I'm writing haikus on Amazing But True. It's Jake Brown, no medication. Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa were medicated with drugs of victory. Mets victories. It's Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa. Joining us later in the show will be a guy who played for the Cleveland baseball team, formerly known as the Indians, now the Guardians, and played for the Mets. Rajai Davis will join us. He also now works with Major League Baseball in the baseball operations department. So stay tuned for our interview with Rajai Davis. Well, Rajai had to watch our New York Mets, his final team, spank the team that he hit a homer for in the World Series, the Cleveland team. And by spank, I mean 3 1-run wins. The Mets have tied a most random stat ever, franchise record for 5 straight 1-run wins. They did it in 1984. They do it in 2023. Figgy, what a weekend of baseball as the Mets sweep. You heard it. I predicted it on your birthday. Happy belated birthday with Zoo on Thursday's podcast. I said sweep. You just felt the vibes turn, and it started with that miracle on Wednesday, the walk-off Pete Alonso homer, the 3-homer game from, Vientos, from Alvarez, from Alonso. And then it went into the weekend in a Friday's miraculous walk-off game into a Sunday doubleheader of 2 1-run tight wins that they had to win late in the game in the 8th inning. Just a really good, not only just Mets week of baseball, just a good week of baseball games, like no blowouts, 1-run games, a fun week at the ballpark for the Metsies.
Yeah, watching the Mets, how things have shifted. And we talked about, yes, we needed a spark, and we did that on our podcast. And the spark was Mark Vientos getting called up. And, when you start out and it didn't happen right away, you're thinking, oh, here we go again. Same old Mets are losing right off the beginning of the game. And they're down 2. Look at that. And bam, Vientos gets them right back into it with a home run. And then bam, Alvarez hits that home run to tie it. And there's so many underlying storylines. And that would have all been for naught, right? Because they go right the next inning and give up 2 runs. And you think, oh, man, it was so close. And, there's no way they come back from this. Oh, by the way, we still have Pete Alonso. And then Pete Alonso steps up and does the unthinkable by hitting that home run and almost tearing Citi Field down. The crowd goes wild, and it's all of a sudden, who are these guys? And it started before that. When you think about what happened with, how they were playing, and then Tampa Bay Rays are the best team in baseball. They wind up beating those 2. Then they go and they sweep the Guardians. So they're not playing against bad teams. You talk about the level of your competition, all those great cliches. What I'm seeing is this just a shift in that energy in that clubhouse, in the dugout, in the fans. Even you're almost not expecting home runs, but you're expecting better at bats in the big moments, and that's what you've been getting. The bullpen has not been great, which is unfortunate during these times. The bullpen has not been great. There's been reasons why the hitters have had to come through, because the bullpen keeps giving up these runs late in the ball game, and that's not what you need at this point because they're playing much better baseball. But all's well that ends well, and to win 5 1-run games, as you said, in a row, that's a huge thing because it gives you that element of we're never down, we're never out, no matter how big they're down in these games. They're one swing away from, okay, it went from 5-0 to 5-1. Oh, well, maybe we do have a chance. And then all of a sudden it's another hit, another run, and they're starting to put them together in bunches. The at-bats are getting better. The defense, I don't think we speak enough about the defense. That 9th inning of defense that, Robertson's throwing, and you're getting hard ground ball after hard ground ball being hit, and some great defensive plays being made. That is the kind of stuff that just continues to pump you up, as a fan. But as a player, you're sitting there going, man, these guys are laying out for everything. These guys are giving their all because they want to win. And I think that's what we wanted. That's all we wanted this whole time, was that they were stuck in a rut. Everything was so lethargic. Everything was so like, oh my God, they're just going through the motions. And now you don't say that so much anymore. You're watching these guys play some inspired baseball.
And some would say the grass is greener on the
Oh
other
my.
side. Francisco Lindor and the grass growing. I gotta put the GR because if you just leave it as that, it becomes the ass growing
You
bobblehead.
already did. Could you move it into the frame?
The
That's
grass
all it
growing.
takes is one
It's the
second on the
biggest
internet.
box I've ever seen. It's the biggest
And
bobblehead
there
they've
we
ever
go.
done.
And there we go. And there we go.
That was too easy. Well, Lindor was a hero over the weekend against his former team. I mean, what a job by him. We'll start with Friday, the walk-off Friday. Sunday is the homer. I mean, Lindor needs to pretend every game is Sunday Night Baseball. I mean, we saw him with the 3-homer game against the Yankees.
Yep.
That was last year, right? Was that last September, I believe? Or was the year before that, I think?
Year before
2021, maybe. Where he had the 3-homer game in Sunday Night Baseball. And Sunday Night Baseball, you basically got to go. And I said, you should have went just to avoid the broadcast. I mean, I heard in the 8th inning of a 1-1 game, they were doing a pre-recorded interview with Max Scherzer. That's the second time they've used up like an hour talking about Scherzer. First, it was the sticky stuff for, multiple hours. And now an interview during a tie game. And luckily, they get the small ball, they get the sac fly, and Brooks rarely closes. Let's start with Friday. Let's go in order here because all three games are very much worthy of being talked about. But Friday was, you thought Wednesday you were on a high. Friday, it was a tremendous crowd. Place was packed, 35,000 Friday. I mean, this game was 5-0 as I'm having a vodka soda splash of cran with Danny and Delta. It was 5-0. I mean, every time Carrasco returns, we joke first inning, have an opener, but really he needs Zyrtec, Claritin combined in the first inning. His allergic reactions to first innings are out of control. And this game felt over. Luckily they come back, they make an entry 5-1, 5-2. Again, the baby Mets. And that's something Lindor talked about in his post game, after baby Mets, and now it's a thing. Athlete logos and making the T-shirt of the babies. You have it in your background if you're watching on the New York Post Sports YouTube page, watching the video, the baby Mets. That's Viento, that's Alvarez, and that's Beatty. Beatty homers is 5-2. Then it's 7-2. That's 7-3. And then Pete Alonso. You always talk about why our guys pitching to him. Well, the base is loaded. You have to, unless you want to just walk in a run.
Walk in a run.
Pitch to him. I think it was a 3-1 count. It was either 2-1 or 3-1, I believe, or 2-0. I don't know, one of those.
And Gary Cohen had just said on the broadcast, this guy only gave up 2 home runs all of last year. He's given up 5 already and gone.
Classic Gary. And like the building's on fire. 7th. He rounds first and does it backwards.
Almost falls over. Yeah.
Almost fell over. His helmet almost flies off. By the way, the railing is not. I think the railing from getting railed by Pete Alonso all week in the dugout. I mean, Sunday they showed the video. He's banging the railing. It looked like it was going to fall over. I think the amount of poundage that railing has taken from Pete humping it is. It's a hilarious gift, but it almost fell
brought
over.
To you by Grinder.
Yeah, it's fun, and like Braves fans will hate on it. I find it hilarious, but that was a moment. 7-7 Figgy. Again, the week of the comeback kids, it's 9-7. The 10th, they're like, damn it, we thought we had this. Robertson's not invincible. That was Drew Smith actually in the 10th on Friday. And then the kids, man, Francisco Alvarez, a huge versus Vientos. Vientos makes it 9-8. Then down 0-2 Alvarez against Clase, right?
There's something but there's something right before that I have to address. And we talk about Buck Showalter, we talk about the X's and O's, we talk about the analytics department, we talk about all these things. Who pinch ran?
Eduardo Escobar, who stole second base.
And how many stolen bases does Eduardo Escobar have in a Met uniform?
More than the guy who he was on for.
He had zero. Zero. The idea behind that was he knew he was a little bit faster than Vientos, but he also knew that he knows how to run bases. He knows how to get a jump. He knows.
Wait, Escobar had 0 in his career?
0 stolen bases.
Well, that's hard to fathom.
They were laughing about it afterwards. So he stole that base right there, comes up clutch. He's on second base, scores that run on a ground ball that gets through to the left side. It wasn't a sure thing, but that's something that I think people would overlook is that of all people, you put in the oldest guy that you have.
That's false. He had 22. He has 22 stolen bases, but it was his first with the Mets. So yeah.
I said as a Met. God, you don't listen to these things.
Sorry.
As a Met, he has 0, not in his career, 0 as a Met. And so when you're sitting there and Buck is looking down the line, who can I use? He's saying to him, hey, can you steal second base? And they said he was joking with him about, oh, yeah, like he had good numbers on it. He had no numbers on it, but that was the gut feel of putting a veteran guy in there in that situation and understanding he wouldn't be overwhelmed. He wouldn't be, and he took off and he stole that base
Although he
clean.
might have been out with a good throw. I thought the throw beat him. Luckily,
Everybody
it was a
might
bad
be out
throw.
with a good throw,
But
Jake.
that's something they knew too. I believe the catcher didn't have the best of arms, so it made sense there. And yeah, that was an underrated decision. It was kind of like what was it, the Dave Roberts stealing second moment in the base hit? Obviously not as big, but then again, 0-2 Alvarez. And then it was only fitting. Francisco Lindor winning the game in the first game of the series against his former team. It was destiny, and it was on the first pitch.
You love
and it
small
was incredible.
ball. You love small ball. You saw Alvarez 2 strikes, get the ball through the infield. That ties the game. Then all of a sudden Nimmo comes up, then he small ball hits the high chopper and beats it out. That's the kind of thing that you're talking about, is that not striking out, not trying to be the hero and end the game with one big swing. 2 strikes. I got to change my approach. I got to put this ball in play and go hard. And they were able to do that. And even I loved when Lindor hits that ball. It really reminded me for a split second of what happened with the Yankees in the World Series with the Diamondbacks, right? Mariano's going to throw a cutter. You knew that cutter. Clase has a 101-mile-an-hour cutter, throws the cutter. It's in on his hands, and he doesn't hit it on the barrel. If you watch that slow motion instant replay, it's below the barrel. It's almost a jam shot, but it's just enough. Outstretched dive at second base. The ball goes into the outfield, and pandemonium hits, and that's the kind of baseball that you want to play. And you want to go down fighting. If they had it tied at least, right? But if you go down fighting, go down swinging, you put the opportunity and you put the onus on the defense and on the other team to make pitches, to make plays. And even their closer, one of the best closers in the game, he hasn't been the same this year. He hasn't been 100% as effective as he was last year, but they were able to put those good at bats that makes a closer start to think, man, my stuff's not that good today. These guys keep putting the ball in play, keep hitting the ball, and they were able to end it on him.
A 10-9 win Friday. Absolutely love to see. And again, the story this week is having the back of the guys who sucked. So Carrasco wasn't good. The bat said, you know what, we'll carry us tonight. And this is something we hadn't seen until this week for the Mets, and we knew it was coming. And I try to tell the bozo losers who said, season over, it's done, this team's got no life, no heart. I said it's too early. And they showed us they can still do it. All right, Saturday's rained out. They call it before noon. Pretty fair. I know there were some people who were on the way to the game. It was the bobblehead Saturday. They move it to Sunday. And Sunday ends up being, a day you could dream of. I mean, 2 Hall of Famers in one day. And on the other side, a Cy Young winner at night in Bieber. So just a great day at the ballpark. Game 1, Mets are up 3-0. Figgy, and you talked about it. The bullpen struggled. Ottavino's been struggling lately. I'm a little bit concerned. Robertson, the runners are on. He gives up the 2-run homer, and Jose Ramirez had himself a day, a 2-homer doubleheader day. So you expect that. And I believe he had homer Friday too. So he had a big weekend for Jose Ramirez. Not a big weekend from the guy the Mets traded. I mean, Ahmed Rosario looked just god awful in the field. Jimenez wasn't even playing every day. So I laugh at the people who are like, the Guardians won that trade. I mean, they didn't look like major leaguers. Rosario looked like a bum out there. I mean, he did not look good at all. And then you could argue Carrasco as part of that trade hasn't looked good either. But I don't know. I'll take Lindor gladly right now over Jimenez and Rosario. And game 1 Sunday, they blow it. But again, Figgy, they get their back. Marte, who by some fools is getting booed in the outfield by some fans, and like people say, oh, let's bench the veterans, including Marte. I'm saying, just wait a second. There's literally Mets fans who are thinking, I see it on Twitter, bench Marte. Maybe he needs a day or two here and there because of the injuries, but Marte showed you, I'm here. I'm good. One, he had the cannon, the perfect throw to second base. I don't know what Josh Bell was doing. I mean, that was a laser throw, and he ended up getting in a pickle. He went try to go back to first. And then on top of that, Marte, the 2-run homer, as I'm talking to Uncle Frank, 2-run check. Mets take the lead. And then Robertson said, I'm sorry about the homer. I'll close this game. That was a kind of a gutsy win that almost got away from them in game 1. And it was another good sign, a great Max Scherzer outing. I know it ended with him a little grimacing. Hopefully he's okay. Maybe the neck was bothering him. Maybe you could argue he could have went into the 7th. Like we saw later from Verlander. That's the only thing from that first game. I would have liked to see more, but clearly he might have been a little hurt. But great starting pitching and clutch hitting and the Mets won first game Sunday.
Yeah, that's the kind of game though that just a week ago you're saying, oh my God, they blew it again. They find a way to lose the game. They're not finding ways to lose games right now. They're finding ways to come back and put themselves in positions to win games. And that's how you have those exciting 8th, 9th, 10th inning walk-off type situations. And that's what's making this so fun. I don't want them to necessarily score 20 runs in one game. I want them to be consistent with their ability to score and then score back once they're scored upon. I love the fight back. I love the fact that they were sick and tired, as Buck said. They asked him, what's the difference? What do you think is the biggest key to the turnaround? And he goes, they're sick and tired of losing. It's not that they didn't care. It's not that they weren't trying, but they were coming out on the short end of these just a week ago. So they were sick and tired of losing and said, I'm done losing. Let's find a way to win this game. And it doesn't have to be one guy, although Pete Alonso is great to have up in any situation when you need a home run. But it doesn't have to be one guy. It doesn't have to be Robertson being as locked in as he has been, at any point of his career. Really, he had a .65 after, before he gave up those 2 runs. It's Ottavino struggling at times and then coming through at times. Those are the things that you have to realize. They don't have enough arms in the bullpen that you're comfortable with in those big situations. They try to, Dominic Leone, they keep trying to force him in there, but right now it still feels like a square peg in a round hole. You know what I mean? Where it's like, damn it, you just want to see him get through one clean inning, and you're hoping for that. And that's not what you're supposed to be doing with a veteran guy. Brooks Raley coming into that game. What were you thinking? Robertson's done, Ottavino's done for the day. You see Brooks Raley's the guy warming up, and when they just took the lead, now what? Right? You're nervous about it. You're like, oh my God, how he's got to get through this. But I think it's a confidence boost to the whole team and the fan base that anybody can get it done at any point, and not to put all your eggs in one basket. And just because it's, the $30 million guy or the guy who just got called up last week, this guy's going to give it all he's got.
And a guy who had a big RBI in that game, who we clamored for, me and Zoo, was El Gary to come up before Mauricio. And Gary, as the other Gary Cohen, will say Sanchez. Now you are Spanish, so or you are Puerto Rican. Is it?
Well, you said that. I don't know if I like that tone.
Do I say you're Spanish, or do I say you're Puerto Rican? You speak Spanish. You're
Correct.
Not from Spain, so I don't say you're Spanish.
Correct.
I say you're Puerto Rican. Okay.
Yes.
Hofstra education, baby. You're Puerto Rican. Now, he says Sanchez. Is it Sanchez? Or I see Mets fans all say Sanchez, but, we sound like a guy from Brooklyn. Like, is it Sanchez?
Well, I mean, Michael Kay said his name for 100 years. It was Gary Sanchez. It was never Gary Sanchez.
I like Sanchez. It's kind of fun.
I don't know. Maybe he's trying to switch it up. Maybe he's putting the accent over the A. Who knows? I didn't see the back of his jersey to tell if he has the accent on the A.
He does have the accent on the first A going this way.
Then it's on the A. Then it's Sanchez. So
it is. Okay.
Gary Cohen, being the astute, person he is.
Where'd he go? Yale, Harvard, Columbia? He went to a smart school. Columbia,
I think it was Columbia. It was Columbia. Remember that picture of him with the hair?
Yeah. Columbia. He definitely did some drugs.
So Gary Cohen, being the astute person that he is, and that was a movement though. I'm not gonna get all over Michael Kay for that, because there was a movement to add the accents for the Latin players, so that they had the accents over the proper vowels.
Later in his life, the accent.
Well, that's why that's why the jerseys that you've seen before maybe didn't have that on there, and Yankees jerseys don't have their last name on it anyway. So
I like El Gary. Yeah, that's true. They didn't have, so now he's got the last name, and he's looking good. He had a hit. He had the sac fly. Nice day from him. So Mets win, and finally game 2 on Sunday. Vintage. After that first inning homer, he dialed in Justin Verlander. Again, struggling first inning, maybe some jitters. I'd like to see him do a little bit. I mean, the Mets in general do better in the first inning, but some of his outings, he's been bad so far in the first inning, but he recovered so nicely. It was one of those games they couldn't hit Bieber in a vintage old school game that, like, my dad sees this box where he's like, oh, very nice. Both pitchers going 8 innings. It's like it's like when I would cut the milk carton and go to Shea Stadium in 1978 for free with my milk carton. They both go 8 innings. Verlander's great. And then they get the
Bobby
small
Brown.
Bobby Brown, baby. The good Bobby Brown, not the bad Bobby Brown. Lindor ties it. Another Lindor moment hours after they give away this grass-growing bobblehead. And then the sack fly in the 8th. And then Brooks Raley closed the door in the 9th. I would have liked to see a complete game, honestly, from Verlander. I don't know about you, Figgy. I think it would have been cool. He was great. Sunday Night Baseball. I get it. He was at 98 pitches. Maybe they'll wait a little bit to stretch him out. He's still kind of in that spring training phase coming back from his injury. But Raley scared us a little bit, but gets the job done, gets that glove flip to first. A double play, of course, started by Lindor. I mean, Lindor was all over the place this weekend. Starts the game-ending double play, and the Mets sweep. Donovan Mitchell was a few sweeps over. I saw he was in the building, so D. Mitch was there, and they completed the sweep. A vintage pitcher's duel Sunday night. Great win.
Yeah, and that's why you brought in a guy like Verlander when you were losing DeGrom, and you knew that you needed somebody that could handle the pressure of being that top dog. And not that Scherzer couldn't, but he was going to need more help. And so, who better than Justin Verlander to come in here? And, I joke, and it's only half-hearted that I joke, but the curse of DeGrom, right? What did we see from DeGrom? He'd pitch outstanding, and they would score him 1 or fewer, it seemed, or 2 or fewer most of his career, right? What a difference his career could be if he had, a powerful offense that put up 5-6 runs every time. But Verlander is unflappable that way, right? He's going to go out there and match. He's pissed that he gave up the home run. His team's down 1-0, but he's going out there every inning, and he got better and better and better. And that's what you need at the top of that rotation. I can't wait to see him giving interviews when they're playing well. Like every interview you see him, it's like, oh man, it sucks, right? No matter what, this sucks. And that was a week ago. Now all of a sudden he's out there and he's giving his all to make sure that this team can win. Yes, could he have gone an extra inning? Sure. But we're in May, and I think there's a really bad track record for pitchers in Met uniforms going complete games in May. Last one that I remember was when DeGrom threw those 15 Ks and went complete game, and then he missed the next 2 weeks. It just wasn't right for the next 2 weeks, and he hasn't been right ever since, technically. But Matt Harvey tried to go complete game against the Yankees when he was first coming off that the TOS surgery, and was too much too soon, and wound up, derailing his season because he had to go on the IL. Those are kinds of things that, yes, there's a time and a place, and he could have done it, but at what cost? I don't know what it is these days that guys aren't able to bounce back, but we already know that they're trying to pace these guys. And if they could go to a 6-man rotation, it would be the best for everyone involved. But you kind of look at the schedule as well, right? You want to see how many off days you have. How many rainouts did you have? How many double headers did you have? So that kind of thing is where you're going to see this thing start. You see where a guy who plays chess and a guy who plays checkers, how are you going to map this thing out over the next few weeks? And I think Verlander, giving what he had and finishing strong, that's where you want him to go out at.
Yeah, and I was a checkers guy. I wasn't smart enough really to play chess, so I was definitely a checkers guy. Verlander will pitch next in Colorado, so that'll be interesting to see him pitch there, see if he could continue to pitch well in a tougher environment. But the Mets sweep 5 in a row. We told you gotta believe, turn this around. All it took was a win streak. They hadn't won a series in a month. They finally got a win streak. And now there's no looking back. You play the sub 500 Cubs. Now, I mean, this is a bad thing. You want to play a good team because, like you said, they step it up versus good team. They play the Cubs and then the Rockies coming up. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, playing to the to your level of your competition is never a good thing. And so you hope that the Mets are starting to rise above that and realize that this is the level of baseball they should be playing to. That's one thing. And the other thing is, like we said about the fans and we said about, even ourselves. Yes, you get frustrated. Yes, you understand. But if I got to watch Frank the Tank run around and break things and over exaggerate things,
it's fun to watch. I know he does it for entertainment, but I'm worried about his blood pressure.
It's just there's no reason to get that distraught this early when you've seen time and time again over the past 5 seasons how teams make those runs down the stretch, how teams go from nothing to the World Series. Hello, Philadelphia Phillies. This is you got to go through these ups and downs, and you rather it happen earlier rather than later, because if they did that kind of playing terrible baseball in September Or now I'm looking at basketball. I'm thinking of those Celtics. If they did that, when you're that close to going into the finals, and that's where it's different. Where you're like, oh my god, what is this team doing? I want my team to struggle early and figure it out later on, and then click on all cylinders when the time is right.
What do the Celtics and Guardians have in common? They're 3-0. They're 0-3 versus New York teams. That's not true. But anyways, coming up, Mets play the Cubs in Chicago Tuesday. It'll be Senga versus Smiley. Smiley's having a good year, but the Cubs are not. The Cubs are 20-26. McGill versus our old friend Marcus Stroman is actually having a solid year so far on Wednesday. And then another Thursday night game. It'll be Carrasco, who needs to get it going. He goes up against James Tyone, who's having a terrible year. I got to drop him in fantasy. He's got an 80 ERA. I don't know why I even have him. He's been terrible. So the Mets go to the Windy City, and the vibes are back. The Mets are back. And Sunday, the grass-growing bobblehead. We'll close with this before Rajai Davis comes on. I want to do an unboxing because it's basically a chia pet. It's the first time they've ever done this. There's literally, they show the seeds. What was the
sticks and stems?
Am I supposed to open that? I don't know. It's the first time a executive director of field operations and landscaping has got his own place on the box. Bill Deacon.
Yes, sir.
Bill Deacon. You know Bill?
Yes, I do.
Shout out to Bill.
He's the one that yells at us to stay off the grass.
Yeah, stay off the grass. Indeed, that's what they say. I love the hair on it too. It's got the heavy, goodness, like a baby. It's
what?
Like a little heavier than
how many babies have you unboxed?
None that I know of.
I didn't know you were a doctor.
It smells a little funky.
Oh boy.
All right, so it's got the cool hair. You see this? Here, Arts. This could be our screen grab. Smile. This the I want to look at it's hard. I thought it was gonna be softer hair. It's hard. So you got the bobble, you get the grass. So now I thought there was grass in here. Am I supposed to?
It's the seeds.
Spread enough potting.
Oh my god! Did you really hear this guy? Hearts, I need you on, please.
Wait.
Hearts, I need you. Oh my god!
Oh, it takes 15 days. So should I put the seeds? Should we do the seeds in here in a couple weeks? See in the podcast if they grow.
Yeah, yes, but not now.
So cool.
I'm
gonna do it right now.
No. Oh, go ahead.
So, all right. Here's the instructions. Ready? I get seeds all over my room.
You need water, Jake.
Oh, right.
Seeds don't grow without water.
I do have my water bottle here.
Oh my god!
Potting on the soil the inside. Evenly spread the seeds around the soil. Make sure they're in contact with the soil. Add a thin layer of soil on top of the seeds and water the bobblehead base. This is too much work. Put your bobblehead in a window where it gets plenty of sun. Keep your bobblehead soil moist until seeds sprout. Water it every day. Seeds should sprout in 15 days. All right, so I'm going to do this on the side. I won't do this here, but I will do it on the side, and we'll update you next week how it's growing. I'm excited to see this. So 15 days, Piggy. So that's May 31st. That's around June 6th or 7th. All right, so by the episode we drop the 8th-ish, that range, we will have an idea, and we will see if the grass is greener on the other side and the grass grows.